Okay, are you ready? Just be yourself. Be yourself.
Just be normal.
Just be normal.
I don't know how to be normal.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
And who are you?
I'm Devin Kelley.
You're Devin Kelley.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
Who are
here.
you? Why
I'm
am I
David.
here?
I'm David Fickas. We're here at Oh My Ribs. You know that this is a alumni-run theater.
Really?
This is a USC. Lisa Gottman.
It all comes back.
It all very Trojan. The Trojan Mafia. It's real, people. You were a BFA. And you graduated
in 2008.
In 2008, and you were. Now I met you because I went to your showcase, and you were very good in the showcase.
Thanks.
You were. Do you remember what you did in the showcase?
Yeah, I did a scene with. There's a dude named Devin in my class, so it was the two Devins were paired up, just to make it extra confusing.
Spelled the same?
Yeah.
Oh.
My parents fucked up and they gave me the boy way of spelling. Rich and Patty were confused.
Okay, so let's go there. Where did you grow up with Rich and Patty?
I was born in Minnesota, and then I moved to Belgium for a while, and then I moved back to Minnesota where I had the formative years. Yeah.
There's a lot of people from my class from Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah.
So they're all super nice.
They're very nice.
They love lakes.
They love lakes.
I love it. I go back very frequently.
You do? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of obsessed with Rich and Patty.
So why USC? And how did you choose that, and how did that come to be?
I knew I wanted to be an actor from very early on, and my parents were like, that's lovely, but you're going to college. That's just happening. And I think I tried to fight it for a second and then realized that actually might be a good thing to have.
Training,
good. Degree,
yeah.
I don't know, something in my back pocket. But I was like, theater. And so applied to every school in New York and Boston, and USC was the only school on the West Coast I applied to.
Right.
So every other school was East Coast, and then I got into USC, and I was freaking out. I was so excited and didn't expect it at all. Yeah.
Because of the audition, or just because?
Just because I felt that wasn't the story that I told myself. I thought I was going to go to New York, I was going to go to NYU, and I didn't get into NYU the first time around. I auditioned again the next year after freshman year of USC, and I got in then, but I didn't get in the first time.
So you were gonna hightail it.
I was gonna hightail it.
Was it a combination of homesick?
I was so homesick.
It was no Rich and Patty.
Rich and Patty were not. I flew home every month.
Every month?
I pretended. I
drove home every month, but I was 20 minutes away.
You live up the 110.
Yeah, I drove home every weekend, but that's different. But that's wow.
Every month, it was a problem. I went so far as to tell Jack Rowe that I was Jewish, so I could go home for Rosh Hashanah. My name's Devin Kelley.
So your real acting was just lying to your teachers.
Just lying, so I could go to my parents' house and cry for a weekend.
So it was that. It was,
yeah.
Was it how quick were you freaking out about it?
I mean, I think right away, just not finding the footing. And I think I was so set all through high school. I was like, college is the thing for me. High school's not my jam.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to college and it's gonna be theater. It's gonna be everything I want. And then, which turned out to be a blessing, was that everyone was pretty normal and had other interests, and it wasn't this really intense conservatory, but I think that's what I thought I was signing up for.
Right.
And so when people were jazzed about football games and going to sorority stuff, and I just felt no, this isn't what you're actually wrong. This isn't what it's supposed to be. And I remember Jack Rose saying you guys have this whole university at your fingertips. You have so many things. You have the film school right there. You have everything Los Angeles has to offer, but I was so no, this is my time to be a theater kid. I just need to chill the fuck out.
Did you, because you're very tight with a lot of people in your class still.
Yeah, completely.
And did you find that they were going through the same things, or did you hide that from people?
Totally, completely.
Okay.
I needed to this Irish Midwestern thing, I need to lock this up and be the tough kid. I remember there was one class, we were doing sonnets in Jim Wilson's class, and everyone was doing their sonnet, shall I compare thee to the summer's day? We were all doing the same one.
That was Jim's favorite.
Yeah.
He would always, and then he would put a twist on it.
Yep.
That was his, I love it.
It was great, but I was watching everyone go one by one and just tears streaming down my face because I was so homesick, and one guy in my class just looked over and goes, are you okay?
Oh.
I'm fine.
See, that's so interesting.
But we all were going through it.
Yeah, and I think it's good for incoming students to hear that.
I'll talk about it. It was nasty.
I had the same. I had a really tough time my freshman year, and I very privately. I was running home, and I was kind of finding my footing, and I was much more connected to the class above me than my actual class.
Sure.
And so I did a lot of freaking out, and then sophomore year is when everyone else freaked out. We had a couple of teachers that were pull it all out of you, and you had Brent Blair, we had Tim Douglas, and which was very, a lot of Linklater and pull it all out.
naked on the floor and
yeah, a lot of breathing and crying, and you know, and
familiar.
And then everything was coming up, and I remember going, wow, I went through all this last year, and now you guys are like bonding over it. Oh, screw you people.
Yeah.
But what made you stay? And was there a specific turning point? Did you lock into something?
Yeah, totally. I re-auditioned for every school. Like I auditioned for everything on the East Coast again. I just thought, this is wrong. I'm just not supposed to be here. This isn't my jam. I was right going when I was like imagining the East Coast for me, and then choosing the West Coast was a total fluke. I don't know what I was thinking.
So you just had buyer's remorse. You were like,
yeah,
I
completely.
Need to go.
I was like,
yeah.
I thought this would be really, because I didn't think USC would accept me. So I think part of it was like, oh my gosh, you guys want me? Wow,
Right.
like I'm so not like this
Right.
this idea of like what a California kid is, or like Hollywood or something. I didn't think I fit into that, and so I thought New York and theater was my jam. But the fact that they wanted me, I felt like it was the cool kids club. Like, oh, you want me? Cool, I'm in. I don't fit in. Oh God. And so I re-auditioned for every school, and I got into NYU on my last day of USC. And so then my last day of USC, I had this like, oh shit, like looking around, like, is this my last time here? Because what had changed for me, I did an ISP.
This is my fault?
It's your fault.
That's so
Namaste.
exciting.
It's
okay,
your
well, we have to, like, and we do have to fact check this a little bit, because an ISP
I did an ISP.
is an independent student production.
Yes.
And when I was there, they didn't have those, and I fought very hard to do my own show.
Yep.
And years later, I learned that they called them ISPs, and it's a huge
deal.
It's a huge thing
It clearly
now.
changed my, I mean, not to make it like such a thing, but like it changed my life.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That makes me very, and I should say, it wasn't just me, but Mike Uppendahl, who is a big television director now, he also was finding a way to do his own shows. So what was the ISP that you did?
Taming of the Shrew.
And so it was student directed?
Student directed by a guy named Tim Sullivan, written by William Shakespeare.
Oh yeah, Little Billy.
Uh-huh.
Little Billy Shakespeare.
Little Billy wrote that just for us.
Yeah.
I think we set like in the 50s or something. I played Bianca.
Okay.
And also I met who's now still to this day my best friend Daniel Montgomery. He was in it, and we also got cast in a student film like that same first week of second semester freshman year. So all of a sudden it was like, wow, you're just a new person who's so in my life. And he introduced me to his class and then the class above him, like the BFAs from 2006. And he just opened up a world of people, because I think my class everyone was like so scared and alone. Everyone was just trying to keep their head above water, and we all like couldn't really help each other. Like, help me help you. Like, we were just trying to, swim. And Daniel and then the class above him, they were all just like so fun and so chill and putting up this play and hanging out every night after rehearsal. And so I got into that group. I just met people that were I finally just like locked in to people who are still to this day my very best friends. And that changed everything. I found my little pocket.
Yeah.
In the big, scary school. And I remember Daniel and I were standing in the courtyard outside the DRC, and we were like singing, we were singing Grease, it was like something so stereotypically theater. And we were singing and like jumping up and down and just goofing around. I remember thinking like, oh no, I love it so much, but I've made such a point of hating it here and wanting to leave. How do I deal with this now?
How
do I reconcile like this shitstorm?
I advertised it.
Yeah. And Jack Rowe was really cool about it. Like, he wrote my letters of rec to the other schools, and we're just like, if you can like wait it out, I think it can be good for you, but do what you have to do. Like that, it's like that parenting technique.
Yeah.
Like, sure, go.
So nobody said you're making the wrong decision.
Jim Wilson did.
But
sure.
Yeah. But Jim Wilson,
he can say whatever the hell he wants.
He can. Yeah. The rumor about Jim Wilson was that he could rip a phone book in half. that is true. There's a bunch, and look, I'm saying this, I believe Jim Wilson could rip a phone book in half if he wanted to.
He also used to sleep with a pillowcase full of chains next to him.
What?
In case an intruder came or someone was that he could just like bash them with chain link.
But the big rumor with him was that he was cast as R.P. McMurphy in the Cuckoo's Nest movie, and apparently he turned it down. I don't know if that's true. We might cut that out. I don't know.
All right.
So he was acting, though. He was an acting teacher.
Yeah.
And you had Brent for voice. Freshman year?
Paul Backer.
Paul Backer.
Rest in peace, Paul.
Paul Backer.
Yeah.
I know. We had John Blankenship.
Sure, yeah, he was still there when
he was still there when you were there. Okay,
yeah.
He passed away in 2009, I think,
okay, so
maybe.
yeah.
But I remember saying to the school, like, he's the thread. He ties us all together. He ties all the generations together. And, and it's awful that we lost him. He's still with us. Okay, so did you embrace the school now that you decided to stay?
Like I went. You went
to the games?
I think I went to it like half of one maybe.
Right.
But still, that's like a big deal for me. So like I had a blast doing taming of the shrew, and it was great because it was just like, oh, we're actually doing what I've wanted to do all along. We were doing student films, found a pocket. Because freshman year, I feel like you have freshman year friends, you're hanging out with people in your hallway, and you're like, we're never gonna, this is never gonna work. And we all know it, what are we doing? I went to like the row, like what?
Yeah.
So once I finally found like, oh, this is like, these are my people, this is where I should belong. And I went home for summer break, and I remember like writing on a napkin at a restaurant with my parents, like pros and cons of like staying at SC or like going to NYU or wherever. And NYU, like, the cons might have been bigger for USC, but why start over? And I just finally felt it. I finally figured and my mom's exact words were like, you could have knocked me over with a feather when you said that I was going to stay, because I was so miserable. And then once I went back, it was just a dream.
You just embraced it.
It just embraced it. I mean, it was all me. It was all my, like, USC wasn't the problem. I was totally the problem.
Right.
And like, God, I'm just like quoting Jack Rowe up the wazoo, but I think he just, something to the effect of like, everywhere you go, there you are.
Right.
And that was a huge thing. That's, I mean, still counts.
And so he was your...
I would go into his office and cry probably weekly.
Right. So he was your
my guy.
Your Dumbledore.
Yeah, he was my Dumbledore.
Yeah. I miss Jack Rowe. He was pre-me and also after me. So there was a window of time where he wasn't there, and it was like, I think the 5 years that I wasn't there. I was there 4.5 years. That's just because of the film school.
Sure.
But I had the same thing. I almost, once I got into the film school, I decided to stay an extra semester and do all film, but I almost pulled out of my class, did film for a year, to go into the class below me. They were very like, angry theater people. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah.
But they were also incredibly talented. So it was like this weird, like, do I need to get in there with the talent, or should I go make movies or whatever? And my class was talented too, but my class was very disjointed, and some people left the program. And like Nick Lachey was in our freshman class.
Are you kidding me?
No, but back then he was Nick Lachey.
Did like Lou Pearlman make him like change the pronunciation?
He did say Nick was the nicest guy. He came back for our graduation, nicest guy ever. But
he was like, "Hey guys, I know I dipped out for 4 years. I'm just going to perform here on the big stage."
No. He didn't come back. He came back to support us in our graduation. But
did he wear tap shoes though?
That was. Do you know our stories?
I do. Yeah. Why do you think I brought it up?
I did make our class wear tap shoes when we graduated. It was very funny.
I took tap senior year.
Were you forced to take tap?
No, I chose it.
You chose it?
Yeah.
You were forced.
I chose it, and I have such a specific memory of like tapping and not being good, like just not.
Oh,
but that's okay.
I was amazing.
Sure, fine. We can brag about it.
I could do one move that I still did. Never mind.
Is it a buffalo?
No, it's just a stupid. We'll do it at the end.
Okay. I looked out at the window. We were in that one classroom across from the dance studio. I wasn't even good enough to be in the dance studio. I had to be in the room across from the dance studio, and I was looking around, and I looked at there was someone looking in the window and like in the doorway, and it was Brydell just looking, and he saw the whole thing, and I made eye contact with him and I walked out, and he was like, really hitting it hard senior year, huh, Kelly?
Well, you're trying to be a triple threat.
I was trying to get it all in.
You want to get it all in. Yeah, we had to do.
It was at my fingertips. Jack Rowe told me to take advantage of everything USC has to offer.
And tap was one of them.
And I chose tap.
So, did you do musicals when you were there? You don't sing. Do you sing?
I do. I mean,
you do sing.
Yeah, but no.
I mean, Reese Witherspoon and Emma Stone said the same thing. Do they?
Sure, then yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I did. They're kind of like the musical ISP thing started when I was there. They called it the Musical Theater Repertory, MTR. I don't know if it's...
it's a lot of, like,
a lot of acronyms.
Initials, yeah.
I don't know if it's still around, but Jason Robert Brown, who's a really well-known composer, taught a class that I took freshman year, and then he mentored 2 students, and they wrote a musical, and I was in it. I was a singing weather girl, and I wore a bikini the whole time, and I was on roller skates.
Of course.
So really just using all of my talents.
Yes, put it together. You're like, I just learned tap, now you want to put skates on?
Come on!
So frustrating. This is the difference between interviewing somebody who was there when I was there. Like, we have kind of the same stuff, but you were educating me about the differences, and I think it's fascinating, because it's, especially talking about the freshman year, like, it's symbolically the same, and we're going through the same things, but it's also so different and unique, and the way the school is lined up for your particular time, and it's fascinating.
It's like different words for the same thing. I mean, it's like it's the same feelings, but the structure is different.
Or the connection with one particular teacher.
Sure.
Josh Carton was a teacher for me that was the first guy who kind of pulled me aside sophomore year. I saw you do a pratfall. That's good. I was like, wait, you like pratfalls? You know, and he just encouraged comedy.
Yeah.
And also finding the people that you connect with. You know, the way you talk about Daniel Montgomery is how I talk about Pam Cook and Rick Barbera and some of the people that I was working with. And you kind of go through this stuff together, and then you find a way to protect yourself as you then step out, and it's even crazier.
Yeah.
You know? So wait, we were still in school.
Yeah.
And you went to London.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
A semester.
So you did a semester at sea?
Yeah.
Not at sea, but whatever. You did a semester.
I did a semester in the British Channel.
What was that like?
It was great. I'd always knew that I wanted to study abroad, that the opportunity is there, why wouldn't you take it and do it? And it was a chance for me, you know, that like really high-strung freshman year Devin that like wanted to be like all theater all the time, finally got it that semester in London, where it wasn't like the California, like pretty like laid back, and if you come into like, and I would stroll into class with a coffee and like a bag of gummy worms and like sit in the corner, like I like really drank the Kool-Aid once I let it all go. But Bada was like in class like 9, like they lock the doors if you're not there and you're in a rehearsal skirt, and the whole thing. And then we were seeing theater like every night, so it was just fully immersive.
And what semester was that? That was your
fall semester of junior year.
Okay, gotcha. And what was it like coming back to that?
I felt like I kind of like I'd been at war, you know, like everyone had all these stories. It's like, wait, what? Like I wasn't like there for some of the stuff, but it was pretty seamless. I don't feel like I missed out on like class things or I was behind or anything. I felt like our class had really hit our stride by then.
Right.
And we were working we started doing a Russian play that spring semester, which really bombed. It was really not good.
We did Blood Wedding, and we called it Bloodletting. And it was Blankenship directed it, and we love Blankenship, but somebody videotaped it, and they added up all the scene changes, because he was so into the art direction of it all, and it was like 40 minutes of scene changes in the show. It was rough. Rough. The Masked Man had never been through that much. I want to get to your post-USC career.
I graduated and, you know, I had like meetings after, through Showcase.
One of them was with me.
Yeah, one of them was with you, and now here we are.
I know.
So it does matter. I feel like when you are first graduating, you're like, how is this going to pay off like tomorrow? And it's like you're having a meeting and then you just go on and live your life, and you never know how it's going to circle back for you. It was a big lesson. Mm-hmm. And that's happened with a lot of different people, you know, with you and with so many other meetings with like networks or studios or whatever. It's like after I've like worked on a show and they've been like, I actually met you. We met when you had just graduated college. Mm-hmm. And it's weird when it doesn't play out right away, then you just can immediately jump to thinking that was a failure, that was a waste of time. But there's not really that much immediate gratification.
Well, and there's so much who you know. I mean, that's like a cliche phrase of like, it's all who you know, but it really is who you know. And part of your job is to get out there and meet people. And just even to use you as an example, you know, we had met 4 people from your class. Specifically, we had a show for ABC Family, and we were scouting people that could play high school. Mm-hmm. And so we went back to the showcase. And then I remember doing something for FTVS that you had a very small one-liner in. Mm-hmm. And then when you were on Covert Affairs, our friend Lindsay was, so it was like we knew another producer who knew you, and then we had a private conversation of, oh my God, I love Devin Kelley. Oh my God, I love Devin Kelley. And the fact that those things kind of happen without even doing anything. It's it's like planting a seed and it just grows.
Well, I feel like the way you just summed it up is like it's planting a seed. That sounds just so much like healthier and more beautiful than gotta get out there and network. Like when people say that, it just makes me like I'm not interested. I don't know what that is. I don't like that.
And so you're not, when it comes to networking or socializing and stuff like that, you have your kind of insulation that you like with your friends and
I just stick. It's still the USC bubble, and it's like branched out a bit, you know, just from like jobs or you find your people with each little like project or however people just start sorting through your set family. Yeah, you meet people that find the things interesting that you find are interesting, and then you just start to build these little families and this little like all these little like feelers go out there. These little webs go out, and that to me is genuine and organic and natural, and it makes sense, and it's something that you can keep nurturing over time. This whole networking thing just seems like like speed dating.
Right.
Like
right.
you go and you're like, yeah, and it's all bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really, it might pay off really, but ultimately I think it's maximum effort, minimum effect.
Right.
It's all like, yeah, da, 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 da. And I think that's the part of me that was like, I don't want to do the LA thing, I don't understand that. Moving out here, just like getting on the bus and not having a foundation and just like giving the acting thing a go in LA, like that is bananas to me. I'm so grateful for the USC foundation and network because that has set the stage for literally everything.
Right.
People, jobs, all of it.
You realize that you just made like the commercial for alumni recruiting. There you go.
Yeah. Or it's this.
Actress Devin Kelley says, I mean, I think that's a big thing that happens is you get to this point where you start to do stuff that you think other people will accept you for, but every time you start doing it for them, you're not doing it for you, and it's this weird...
Like, people can smell that.
Yeah.
Like, when it's not genuine, it's not really coming from you, it's not something that's just natural for you, it just feels, it's false. And aren't we supposed to...
Find our truth.
Yeah.
And be us. And that's the thing that in an audition really comes through. Like, that's what people respond to.
Yeah.
You know? And I always say, I use another Showcase Showdown, the show that you've done, but our kind of comedy variety show, like whenever we were doing that and we were like kind of feeding our own souls, you kind of take your eye off of the pressure of those other things. You kind of ignore it a little bit, and then it starts knocking on your door.
Yeah.
As opposed to this other feeling where you have to go out and knock on everybody's door. Let's talk about your representation too, because that story is very interesting to me. So you went to Williamstown right after you graduated.
I hung around here for a year.
Okay.
So I auditioned for Williamstown like the February after I graduated, so it'd been like 6 months or whatever. But the 6 months, you know, it was like waiting tables. I lived with my college roommate, I lived with Jimmy Fowley still, and we were just trying to figure it out. Like how do you be a human in this world?
Right.
We were just a couple of guppies, like we didn't know what was going on. And and I hadn't wasn't really doing anything. I think maybe I had like one audition for like All My Children or something that someone manager who saw me at the Showcase was like, sure, go out on this, but like wasn't really representing me. And I just thought like, we spent 4 years acting nonstop, and now all of a sudden it's just done. And I think I probably did like something with you, maybe had like a line or two. It's like, oh, that was something, and that was it. Then for another 3 months, I just figured this is not how I want to live my life. So I auditioned for a lot of USC kids had gone to Williamstown that had graduated like years before me, and so I knew about it from Andrew Siglowski was like a BFA 06, and Will Greenberg had talked about it and changed their situation. So I auditioned. I went to New York and I auditioned, and I got in. Then that summer, so the summer after.
How long is Williamstown? It's just
3 months, like
Okay.
June, July, and August. And it was just, it's summer camp, it's theater summer camp, but with like grown-ups. We're doing like weird black box theater at midnight. We're doing musicals. You're doing stuff in, a front lawn. It was like, and then big main stage shows. It was everything. It was like USC in 3 months on crack. It was a total just as much drinking, which was great and lovely. Only you're in the woods.
Students don't drink. Students don't drink. Yeah, only you're in the woods, which is great.
It's a different kind of drunk.
Right,
the air is fresher.
Right.
So it feels healthier.
Good. What was the thing, you have a manager, same manager you're with now, and she saw you in what show?
It was a Q&A.
You saw her Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this man, she was doing a Q&A, and like, this is kind of a good lesson for like going forward or whatever. It was raining that day, and I was in my dorm, because you stay in dorms, and it was honestly like a closet that I think like Elizabeth Proctor lived in. Like, it was horrifying.
Okay.
And it was raining, and I was kind of like, I think I had like a little bit of a cold or something, so I was laying in bed, and I knew there was this Q&A with this manager, her name's Jill, and I was just like, I know what a manager does. I don't need to.
Every excuse you can give yourself.
Every excuse, and then finally I was like, oh, just go and do it. You can like sleep in the back if it's really boring. And so I like trudged through the rain, sat in the back, I think maybe asked a question, and then just went on my merry way and probably went back to bed or got a snack or something. And
what snack?
I love snacks.
I'm still thinking about the gummy worms that you mentioned earlier.
That's what I lived off of in college. But and coffee from Trojan Grounds.
Perfect.
Yeah. And she contacted me.
Well, so how did she find you?
She just talked to like the coordinator of the festival.
Oh, and so she was like, who should I think I'm looking for new talent. Who do you recommend?
I guess, and like, I think there was a book of all of our headshots where I saw that and like saw me in the thing and then pieced it together. And she's been my manager ever since.
She was in New York?
She was in New York. So yeah, after the festival, I like took the train into New York and just bummed around and like took a meeting with her. And she was really like, I'm not gonna develop, it's nice to meet you, but you have nothing at all except like a black box play that's no one's ever heard of in Williamstown. That was one night only and 4 people were there. And so she was like, nice to meet you, but just keep me posted, that thing. So I just flew back to Los Angeles and kind of kept on trucking, which meant doing nothing, waiting tables.
So how did Chicago Code come about?
Well, she called me like a week later and was like, okay, so I have all these agent meetings set up for you. So something changed with her that I don't know what her internal monologue was. But the lesson with the manager thing was like, just get out of bed. Like, just show up, obviously, if we need to, like bold letters.
I do that with movies that I'm like, I don't really want to see it. And I did that as a kid to E.T. My parents kind of dragged me, and that's the same, I apply that exactly, because E.T. turns out is a really good movie.
Scared the
Oh, that's right. You're afraid of E.T.
Horrible.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Horrible. I think there was a part of me that wanted to bring that up. I guess subconsciously I was like, oh, that's right. You're deathly afraid of E.T. Oh my God, especially when he's sick. Okay, sorry, we're getting sidetracked, but I love that I brought up one of your phobias.
Thanks.
So she started hustling for you.
She started hustling.
And then suddenly you have agent meetings.
Yeah.
And then you get an agent.
Yeah. Okay. And I had like a bunch of agent meetings with like smaller boutique agents because I had nothing. And they were just sort of like, yeah. Right. And I'm with the same agent from the beginning with APA, and his whole point was like, you're a person I could talk to for an hour that seemed nice and normal. Like I could see that, and the USC training was a big thing. Yeah. It's like, you went to USC, like you can act. I would hope. I think. I would imagine so. So let's give it a go. And then. But
you did pretty good pretty quick.
I did okay.
You did okay. Chicago Code definitely is your break, but you were kind of.
I mean, that was it. Like I had done, anytime you were doing like a web series or anything, you'd have me like come in and like do a line or two, which is great because I'd never like, it's my first time ever being on a set and like seeing like, what does a call sheet look like? And people like those are marks that you're putting on the ground. Right. I mean, this is a whole nother can of worms. Again, I think it's gotten better, but like to leave USC and like not know a lot of those things, like you kind of feel like you're up shit creek without a paddle. So I started going out for pilot season. I didn't know like what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know that.
I still don't know what that means.
Does anyone
changes.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, pilot season starts, and now then they're like, but cable, and now there's all kinds of other opportunities. And so were you 3 a day? Were you doing like?
Yeah, and I got, luckily, like through a USC friend, I got an acting coach. Like he had been working with this woman who he loved, and so a bunch of us started going to see her. And so I was coaching like before every audition with her, because it was just so much, so fast, and I felt like I didn't know, like, how do I tap into something and make me stand apart from everyone else, and then move on to the next one. And okay, so this is this is a crime drama, this is a medical drama. Like, how do you fit into each genre? Because I felt like I can do a Sam Shepard thing, I can do Ibsen, but how the F do I do like an NCIS crime investigator?
And is that different from CSI?
Totally, like the little tricks of the thing that you just don't know when you're fresh out the gate. So I felt like I had someone showing me the way.
Right. So was Chicago Code your first pilot season? Everybody hates you. Everybody hates you. No, come back. What was that process? Was it like you read, call back, test?
I read, and I purposely didn't look up anyone in the room. I was just kind of like, well, I don't know, I'm going, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps you to look at them, and sometimes it's like, why would you get nervy and weird about it? So I just kind of put blinders on, auditioned, left, talked to them a little bit, left, and then my manager called me. He's like, okay, you're testing, and so we're gonna test. Well, and she just kept talking, and I was like, I remember I was standing on Larchmont, like outside Pete's Coffee, and I was like, yeah, totally.
Of course. And then I'm testing.
Indeed. Yeah. And then I called my acting coach. I was like, I think my manager said, is it like they're at test? And she was like, oh, okay, you're gonna need to come over right now. We're gonna have to have a talk. Like, we're gonna have to talk.
And work on this.
Because I just didn't know like what that meant.
And what was the test like? Because they're different here and there, but what was this particular one like? Were you matched up with multiple people, or were you being paired?
The guy who I was ended up playing opposite on the show was already cast.
Okay.
Which is great.
Gotcha.
So he had the part, so I could read with him. So they, my agent manager started negotiating the deal, which I was just like, I don't want to know anything. Like, they didn't tell me anything. I didn't want to know an amount of money, because I was a vegan working at the steakhouse at that point. So as I'm like waiting tables, I didn't want to know what could be.
Where were you when you heard that you got it?
At the steakhouse.
Okay.
So they started negotiating the deal, and then I went in for like a work session with the creator of the show, and my co-star, who would become my co-star, read with me. So we worked on the scenes and they taped it. And so I felt like, okay, now I've worked with the person that has like created this and wrote this and has the vision.
And then it's just up to
right.
surrender.
Yeah, and then, so I did that, and then I had to go in the next day to do a live test in front of the studio, I think. And so there was one other girl who was testing for the same part as me. And so all of us were testing for all these different roles, and we're all just like sitting in this lobby at Fox, just like, staring at the floor, trying not to throw up.
and then you get it.
Yeah. And so I was at BOA. I knew I was gonna hear like that day, and I had like boots on, like black boot, so I had my phone in my boot because I didn't have pockets. Mm-hmm. And I remember specifically it was like table like 604 or whatever, like outside in the patio, and I was setting a Coors Light down for some guy at happy hour, and my phone started vibrating, and I just like dropped it and just started booking it towards the back door, like digging in my boot like a pirate. And it was my Asian manager, and so I just started screaming bloody murder. Like I was like hyperventilating, like.
And you had to move to Chicago.
I moved to Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, where you auditioned, right, for USC? Yeah, Chicago's your place.
Yeah, there's some good juju there.
Yeah. When you booked that, we went to lunch, and I remember having the conversation of, you never know if the pilot's going to go, you never know if the thing is, you never know if it's going to go 10 seasons, if it's going to go 1 season. You know, I've watched a lot of people get so excited about making it, which is not, it's not real.
That doesn't exist.
It's not a thing. I don't know why I felt like I was the one to give you a pep talk or whatever as you were going off to Chicago.
I'm so excited for you. It might totally fail.
That's not how I was. I think Stephanie was there too, Stephanie Barnes. And I remember just saying, like, just enjoy it while it's here. Enjoy it. Because it's really fun and it's really exciting, and if it goes away, it's not the end of the world. And the celebration of actually testing and booking and shooting a pilot, like all of those are good things. Every step is a victory.
Yeah. You have to, you have to enjoy each moment because you don't know if there's going to be a next moment with this particular thing.
Yeah.
And if not this, then something else. But as we were saying, like, I feel like every job is going to be the last job. Yeah. Like, oh, well, that's the one, so that ended and that's it. But it's a very weird thing to negotiate. Like, how do you enjoy this, how do you hold it? Like, you kind of have to hold it loosely enough where you really care and you're doing really good work and you're loving every moment, but you're not Lenny of Mice of Menning it. You're like, this is so fun. You
don't want to kill the bunny?
You have to figure out, like, okay, so I care about it, but I don't care about it too much because it might go away. It's really like your career ends up kind of being like relationships, like how you figure out, like, it's like dating. You're dating your career, basically.
Yeah.
I love you, but I can live without you.
Yeah. Am I going to marry this show? Like, I know. I just want to get to the next level. Yeah. Like, I want to meet this show's parents.
Yeah. I want to spend Christmas with this show.
I'm going home for Christmas with this show.
I'm celebrating Rosh Hashanah with this show.
Perfect. Oh, yeah, because you're Jewish.
Yep.
Okay, so Chicago Code did 1 season, 13 episodes. What was the time frame? Were you done? Because a lot of times now, you'll completely shoot a show, and I think Frequency is like this, right? You guys put it all in the can, then it started airing, or kind of? No.
Chicago Code and first season of Resurrection, the only time I've shot a show completely, and then it's aired like a couple months later, which is the best, because you just do it all. You're in that perfect bubble, and you're doing your thing, and you don't have like ratings or people or like, well, I don't like this character. You don't have outside voices. You're just creating a really great world with your new family, and then you move on with your life, and then by the time it comes out, like, to the masses, you sort of put it aside, and you've kind of hopefully like gone on to something else. So you're not in it, and people are commenting on it because that feels just a little too personal and weird. And then when that happens, you just have to find your bubble and your blinders to go, like, hey, I'm not gonna. That's why, like, social media, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't read it. I don't read anything.
There's so much direct access now.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'd rather not now.
Okay, let's talk about films real quick.
Cool. Yeah.
Because your first big film was really crazy and fun. Was that Chernobyl Diaries? Was that your first big film?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was my first film period.
First film period.
Yeah.
And you had to go to
Serbia and Hungary.
And you had to.
Do you see the light going out of my eyes?
That had to be an intense.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it too much.
No, we can talk. Yeah, it was haunting.
But how long were you there?
Like a month or so, a little over a month maybe.
You were great in that movie, by the way.
Thanks.
You were great in that movie.
There was no acting required. I was so scared.
You were really.
E.T. was too much for me. How do you think I could handle a fucking horror movie?
Have you done a horror movie since, or any?
No.
Is that off your list?
It's
You're like,
done.
I'm not doing scary. So you don't like scary things. Do you watch horror films?
No.
Not at all.
So I don't know.
Like, what's the scariest movie you've seen? Like, have you seen The Exorcist? Have you seen The Shining?
I've seen The Shining.
Okay.
Like the Paranormal Activity movie, like the first one, like no,
You're out.
can't. I'm out. I'm
and
done.
then you signed on for Chernobyl Diaries.
Totally, yeah.
Now, was that in...
Just really wanted to...
Did you audition for that? Or was
Yeah.
Okay, so you auditioned for that.
And that was all improv. They don't have a script. So it was just like standing in a room on like Wilshire and La Brea. It smelled like mold in there, and there's like, you know, you meet a person like, oh, you're my boyfriend today? Okay, cool. And you know, running from like you're in a tunnel and this thing is after you don't know what it is, and you're like banging under, just one of those things where the tapes from those auditions are probably so wildly embarrassing.
I want to see. Is that a DVD extra? Is it in there?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that we said in those, I think, ended up in the movie.
Oh my gosh.
But that was like school training, you know? Okay, like here's the circumstance.
In Serbia.
Go for it, yeah. I mean, we were filming in tunnels that like the Nazis used to travel through during World War II, if that gives you any idea of like the juju vibes that were happening.
So all your sense memory training, they're just like,
completely. I was just
go.
inhaling Nazi dust.
Oh God. What do you prefer? Do you prefer film to television?
I mean, that was such a specific experience.
But you've done a couple films since, right?
Like little like indies, like a little indie. I think that's kind of it.
But is that where you want to go?
Yeah, and I think kind of with the same thing with the school thing, where I thought I wanted the East Coast and that so much, and then something else presented itself. So I don't really think about it that way. It's more about. So I'm happy to be invited to the party.
So you went from Chicago Code, you did Chernobyl Diaries. When did Resurrection?
Covert Affairs was in there somewhere.
How many episodes of that did you do?
Like 6, I think.
Okay.
And that was interesting. That was a totally different dynamic because that's jumping into a show that was already established.
Right.
And kind of feeling like, oh, like I'm not fully responsible for this.
You're a
like,
guest in their house.
Yeah. And trying to how to navigate that. That's a different vibe, and figuring out like what's my role in the greater picture of this. Mm-hmm. And
that was also, I'm assuming, compared to Chicago Code, like those USC, because I was on Burn Notice, and like they're moving faster. Yeah. They don't have as much budget, but they're still doing big fun stuff.
Totally.
But the pace is a little different, I'm assuming, than Chicago Code was.
Yeah, and it felt more like how I know like TV to be now, like, okay, do it and say your scene, and then we're gonna like move on. And I think maybe it was my own personal process for Chicago where it was very actory and really like every moment. And now, going on that, I realized like, oh no, like people want to make their day.
Right.
And people are excited about lunch.
Yeah, right.
So it's like...
You have to respect that. You know, protect your own art and make sure you're doing the right work, the work that you're proud of, but also look at the big picture. And that balance is very...
No one gives a shit about your process. Like
no one. Well, being on Burn Notice, I was talking about how Bruce Campbell is very... he protects the actors. He'll do things like, oh, okay, this is the shot, let's make sure the crew's over there and stuff like that. But if a crew turns on you for being a prima donna, you know, you don't want that. You want the crew on your team, and you want people, you know, rooting for you.
Right, and knowing when to speak up, like when it's okay, like, you know, reading the room. Like I was still so green. Like my first time walking on a set, besides like stuff I'd done Drama 3-4, was Chicago Code. Like I just didn't know my ass from my elbow. Like I didn't know what any
and that was
shot
a huge
was
thing.
At all. It was just like trying to figure it out, but not let anyone know that I was trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so just quietly like flipping in my brain and just trying to keep my head above, kind of like freshman year, trying to keep my head above water. And then once I got a little bit under my belt, I felt like, okay, now I'm comfortable enough asking questions because there's enough to back me up where I just don't seem like an idiot.
Or you find the person that you're comfortable going, hey,
what's an apple box?
Yeah, what's an apple box?
That was the question.
Was that really?
Yeah, I didn't know. They kept talking about apple box. Like,
now why is there a half apple? What's a quarter apple? Where are all the apples?
Why did I learn this in school?
Yeah, no, I know.
But like marks was a big thing, like hit your mark, like I mean not looking down, and like just those little things, like I didn't know that, like that's something I so wish I had at
school. And there's so many, I became like a translator being in the film school and the theater school, and it was like, no, the actors are over here.
You can speak actor.
Yeah, I could speak actor and I could speak film, and I was, you know, we were off shooting stuff and pointing cameras at people, and then I remember specifically shooting stuff and then editing it together and then showing it to my friends who were in it, and them just being on, they were like, oh, that's why you shot these things, and that's how they piece together. And when you start, I'm sure after you did Chicago Code and you knew what the coverage of the day was, and then you watched the episode. Do you watch your episodes?
It's
It's a good thing. I'm like, and then you watch it. Oh wait, maybe you don't.
Do you?
Do you watch?
I did a lot more like then because I was trying to learn. Like,
Yeah.
is what I'm doing is what's going on in my brain.
Is it working?
Translating
Yeah.
and working. Like I would notice really silly things that sometimes like, why are you focusing on that? But like my arms were like moving in a really weird way, and I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
you need to stop that.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's really detrimental, and you pick on something like your eyebrows, your left eyebrow's lower than your right.
Yeah.
Like that, who cares? But there are certain things where like I think I like caught myself like looking at a mark once. It's like,
Yeah, and you're surprised they didn't catch it.
Totally.
And why would you use that? But
it's my own damn fault. I did
Yeah.
it. Like, didn't like Kevin Kline like on Sophie's Choice say to Meryl Streep something? Or no, she said to him like, "You're the one that gave them that take."
Right.
That's what I
right.
always think about. Like, so I would watch it that way to be like, okay, that's not working. That should probably. You were intending this. I know what your thought process with that, but it didn't read as it.
Right.
Now I do it less because I just kind of go like. Ugh.
I mean, even in this, I'm so conscious of us overlapping. Just knowing, oh, they have to edit. They have to cut these things off, and you have to slowly figure out. I actually want to say something I think I've noticed with you in this interview is that when a truck has driven by, you've slowed down what you were saying, and then you picked it back up. Did you consciously do that because you're so aware of sound from working in television?
I'm a professional.
You're a professional, but I noticed. I was like, wow, she's pausing and letting that truck go by, and you do that. When I hear a plane, I'm holding.
We should
for
just
sound.
start doing that as I overlap you.
Yeah.
We should. We should start doing that in real life. Like every time there's a plane, I just like pause. Like I want to make sure everyone is hearing.
Everyone's hearing
what
my
I'm saying.
I'm on my voice. I'm
Yeah.
on my voice.
But yeah, it's knowing like when, like finding your part in it. Like I think I didn't want to ask for another take or something like during COVID affairs, and the guy who's playing opposite me, who's the regular on the show, was like, "Did you want another one?" Too scared to say anything.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. You know, we're gonna do one more, and he made it look like it was for him because they would do it for him because he's the regular, but they probably weren't gonna do it for me, which is very kind. So then I've paid that forward. Like when someone comes into your house, like how can you help them feel as comfortable and great and warm and welcome?
Well, it benefits everyone. I personally hate when people don't help each other because they're afraid of it affecting them in one way or another, and I'm always like, screw that. Life is too short. The careers are too short. Let's help each other.
Yeah.
Being good to the people who are helping you look good is very important.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so you did Chernobyl Diaries. You did Covert Affairs, Resurrection. Where did you shoot Resurrection? That was
Atlanta.
Yeah. Did you like Atlanta?
I had a great time doing that show.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I had a really, really good. I loved.
It was
that
a good
one.
show.
I loved it.
I know.
Look at the people that were on that show. They're all come from the theater, like Frances Fisher, Kurtwood Smith, Matt Craven. They're all theater. So I learned so much on that show. That felt like, oh, this is it. Like it all comes together here. And that was really, really fun. Like really digging into it and mining something, great scripts. But yeah, that was in Atlanta and then Frequencies in Vancouver. So I've never worked in Los Angeles.
Yeah, except for, the Grape Nuts webisode you did with us.
Yeah, which was about 4 hours of my life.
Yeah,
so,
right. So you've really got your roots in LA.
Yeah, totally.
So I was going to ask you, do you have any causes that you are passionate about?
Well, a couple things. There's a theater that I used to do a lot of stuff with when I was a kid that's just nonprofit in Minnesota, and it's doing such great things for the arts and creativity for kids that maybe don't have it at their schools. And so I did that when I was a kid, and it fostered a creative energy and, it's okay to be different, that sort of thing. And so I help out with that, like going back or money or whatever I can possibly do to just keep the doors open, because it's, it's with nonprofit things, it's a constant struggle year after year if they can even keep the lights on. So that's called Youth Performance Company, and I do a lot of stuff with them. And then through the SAG Foundation, there's a program called Book Pals, and SAG members can sign up to go to schools in the LA school district weekly. And I've been reading to the same 2 classes I did it last year, I'm doing it again this year. So I'm going up in years with these kids.
That's
and
awesome.
I go in and read stories to them.
I want to go do that
Okay,
with you.
I'll
I
give
would
you the
love
info.
to do that.
It's really great.
That is very cool.
Yeah. And the other thing, though, really, I love going back to USC, talking at USC and doing stuff like this, because, while you're in it, you're like, no one understands my experience. And, I know, everyone's a snowflake and everyone's special, and you can't, speak to what one person's going through specifically. But I don't know, I feel like if I talk enough or, spew enough shit, it'll strike a chord somewhere.
It's so important for them to hear stories, because if they are having the kind of freshman year that you were having or that I was having, and they get to hear people who went through it, hopefully that'll help them, keep them from bailing to New York. Yeah. And look how Trojan-y you are now.
I know, super Trojan.
I know, it's crazy.
But
I love that.
I feel like when people were coming to talk to us when I was a student, it was like, the 4 dudes that had like booked a couple TV shows that like graduated a few years ahead of me, and I was like, you can't speak to what I'm experiencing. So the more, and I think they've gotten really good about this, like representing so many different kinds of people, different kind of actors. You know, lighting designers. Like I did a panel last year where it's like a bunch of different actors, a writer, a showrunner, whatever.
Right.
And so hopefully one of us said something.
Yeah.
I feel like Bridell's like opening, like looking at things in a different way and not just doing it the way it was always done.
Absolutely. And that was incredibly encouraging and also frustrating because they're doing things the way I hoped back then to reach out to comedy and reach out to film and reach out to Hollywood. And the fact that they're doing that now is very exciting. And I'm clearly trying to take advantage of that by connecting alumni and showing off alumni.
Yeah.
So you want to tap dance now?
Sure.
We'll see if she can keep up with me. Look at those shoes. Those are good tap shoes.
They actually are, yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, I don't remember anything at all.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do this.
That's what we did when we graduated. It's perfect.
There we go.
A whole semester. Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.
Love you so much.
Love you so much. You can ask the horn players that just play outside of PED all day.
All day.
Specifically during like Ibsen scenes.
Stay focused.
Stay in it.
Stay in it. But the horn sec, they're in the middle of Conquest. I can't.
They're playing Tusk.
Yeah, I can't really concentrate.